Welcome back to Almost a True Crime Podcast. I'm Madison.
And I'm Taryn.
And we are a lively, conversation-based true crime podcast between two best friends. We take everything seriously except for ourselves. Listener discretion is advised due to the mature content and the amount of cuss words we say. You've been warned.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Howdy ho, neighbors. I don't know why I said that.
We're on one.
Yeah. We got possibly our favorite review we've ever received.
Ever.
Ever.
Where is it?
Called us the armpit. The unwashed armpit.
And I loved every goddamn second of it.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, you have it?
It's called Almost Terrible is the title.
I literally love it.
This isn't aspiring to be good. It's aspiring to be terrible. First of all, we never said we were aspiring for anything.
Never. We never said we wanted to get better.
No.
You formulated that opinion on your own.
Do you think if we really wanted greatness, we would say half the shit we do?
100 episodes in.
No.
We are where we are.
This is what it is. Lazy, uninformed tripe. And I also don't know what tripe means. Because it sounds like a fish.
I thought tripe was like stomach lining of a sheep.
Uninformed tripe. I'm not sure what that means. This show is the unwashed armpit of the overfilled true crime body of podcasts. If it's so overfilled, why are you still listening to new true crime podcasts?
You took the words out of my mouth. I'm like, okay, well then find another one.
Yeah, there's plenty. The unwashed armpit of the whole true crime community.
All of it. At least one of the asshole or something.
The unwashed armpit of the true crime body of podcasts.
I couldn't love it more.
It. I want a personalized trophy. I want a plaque to put on our wall.
I wonder if I could do that.
I'm sure you could.
I'm going to look into this.
I just, thank you is all I can say.
Tripe does mean nonsense or rubbish.
Okay, so.
I mean, it's a very weird word to say. You're saying that because you want people to look up what you're saying.
Yeah. And so you say, what, are we giving bad information? I mean, I know we've had some flukes, but.
Who hasn't?
I think we give
I think we do
fine.
Information. I mean, if we're giving wrong information, odds are we're reading it somewhere else.
Right.
So we're not the ones. We're not the ones.
If you would like to conduct all our research for us.
That would actually be great because we're really running out of time here. Is that all?
Yeah, that's all I had. I just wanted to.
I'm glad. I forgot about that. I'm glad you brought it up.
That person will probably never listen again, so they're not going to hear that we loved that.
Maybe
comment.
they want the attention. Maybe they are actively listening.
That's fine.
Let us know if you want unwashed armpit shirts.
But I also feel like after this, I'm not even going to read the bad reviews anymore.
I haven't read
out
reviews
loud.
In so long.
No, I'm going to read them, but I'm not going to read them on the podcast anymore.
So that they'll stop sending that.
I feel like those people,
this is the last
you
one.
wrote something like that because you wanted people to hear about it.
Yeah.
So I'll give him his 15 seconds. I assume it's a man. Seems like something a man would say.
Well, it's always a man in my mind.
Men are the worst.
And just put your fucking name on it.
Yeah, don't be a little bitch, dude.
Claim it.
Our names and faces are out here. The least you can do is just sign your name.
Put a name.
Come on.
Grow up.
Come on.
Okay.
Anyways, that's all I have.
I have a really exciting
I'm so excited.
Case for you all.
And
for the next 3 weeks.
I keep wanting to watch the docs.
You cannot.
And now I'm like, well, I'm not going to because I'm just going to hear all of this straight from you.
Okay, so it is a 3-parter. We're recording part 1 now and then 2 and 3 at the same time. So part 2 might not be out right away when you're listening to this, but we will probably get it out at least a little early.
Yeah.
And definitely part 3. So give us a little moment with that because
these fucking multiple parters
they're
are
so
a bitch.
Fucking long. There's just no way around it.
No, there isn't.
I was skimming the book and I was like, oh, I just have to read the whole fucking book.
Oh, yes, you do.
I thought I was just going to pull
and then
pieces.
you have to, and then if you're not taking notes while reading the book, you have to go back and basically reread it. Yeah. I've learned multiple lessons.
Not a fucking fan. Okay, so anyway, I am doing the murders of Laci and Connor Peterson for the next 3 weeks.
Wait, didn't know there was multiple people that were murdered.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't. I thought it was just Laci Peterson. Oh, was she pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, before I start, this is an extremely biased
warning.
case.
Oh, biased?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, people feel one of two ways about it. There's no one in the middle. So I had a really hard time finding information. It's really what took so long.
Yeah. You've
is
been
trying
working on this
to
for
wade
a bit.
through the obvious bias and just try and get the facts of the case, which I think I have done.
Just give me the facts.
But literally, the book that I got most of this information from, and there are parts where I say a fact and then I will clarify that, like, this came from this weird book, so just remember that. But, like, the book I'm pulling from was very biased against Scott. They definitely think he's guilty. They do not make it a secret. They, like, he's guilty because he did delete his voicemails. Like, I've never deleted voicemail.
I never until they, like, I can't. No one can leave me a voicemail.
Never. And then the second book was so biased for Scott. Like, literally, they took a full page in the front to say that, what did it say? It was a book dedicated to proving why Scott shouldn't be on death row. So, like, that's all gonna tilt one way. And then the only other book in the library system, besides a different one I'll get into later, was titled 33 Reasons My Brother is Guilty.
Oh, okay. So which bias was that?
I wonder. So you just get what you get with this. I tried my hardest to just pull the facts. But we can get started.
Okay.
Also, there's a lot. I do a lot of background in all of my cases. There's a lot of background in this case. This first part is mostly background. If you haven't noticed, in the show description, I will put the timestamps of when everything changes. So, like, Laci background, Scott background, them meeting, them moving, I will timestamp all of that. That way you can just skip to whatever part you want. And Genius. I did that because people on YouTube were so fucking mean.
Just get to the case.
Now I do. Now I do. So, well, I don't. But I will tell you when I will do it.
Yeah.
And if that's too much work for you, you have other problems.
Yep.
Okay. Laci Peterson was born Laci Denise Rocha on May 4th, 1975 to Sharon and Dennis Rocha. Sharon said during a interview with the Sacramento Bee, I always knew she was going to be a good, happy baby. Within a few days, she was sleeping through the night.
Fuck that shit.
A few days.
Nothing infuriates me more than hearing people say they have a baby that just
a sleeping baby.
Night. I think Brody was fucking 5 years old before he slept through the night. I just stopped sleeping in bed with this kid 2 years ago.
She said when I would go get her out of her crib, she would always wake up with a smile on her face. All her life, she's been a happy person. Her family owned a dairy farm in Escalon, California, where Laci learned to love the outdoors. She would help her mom garden and even help out on the farm. Sharon and Dennis Rocha divorced when Laci and her brother Brent were still very young. Sharon and the children moved to Modesto, and the children visited the dairy farm on the weekends. Laci and Brent were extremely close siblings, as children often are from broken homes like that. Not that it was an extremely broken home, but yeah, you only have each other at a certain point. Laci attended Downey High School in Modesto. Her circle of close friends included Renee Tomlinson, Renee Garza. 2 Renees. That's odd. This is what, like, the 80s, though. Pretty popular name. Stacey Boyers and Lori Ellsworth and several others. She had a ton of friends, and some of those people were still her friends when she went missing. Wherever they went, Laci often became the center of attention. She was a refreshing blend of confidence, sincerity, loudness, and charm.
Sounds like me.
I knew you were going to say that. I don't think you guys are loud in the same ways, if I had to guess.
Probably not. We probably bring different energies.
Probably. I don't think the energies are the same. Her friend Renee Tomlinson said, honestly, thinking back, she is the only person I know who has never changed. She was always perky, bubbly, energetic, chatty, and she always wanted to have fun. Laci graduated from Downey in 1993, the year we were born.
Oh.
Going on to California Polytechnic State University in San Luis Obispo, where all of this...
DSLO.
Is that?
I don't know.
Did you just make that up?
No, I feel like I've heard it.
Okay, so
I'm
that
not sure.
came so fast and cool.
Because at my old job, we had a customer that was from San Luis Obispo.
Oh,
and I swear someone said the SLO.
That's really funny.
Could be wrong, but it just flash memory.
So she went to, I think they call it like Cal Poly. Because that
would be a very long name to say all of the time.
A couple of my cousins went there, I think. She received the Outstanding Freshman Award in Ornamental Horticultural Division, which is...
Horticulture.
Flowers. Nice. Which she loved the outdoors, so that makes sense.
You know how I know that, right? Hot chick.
Oh.
Horticulture's flowers. Blah, 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 blah.
I couldn't remember what someone had yelled at you for not knowing, but it was birds. Ornithology.
How
fucking dare you.
Fucking hate
whatever.
Birds. So
she goes to school. Fun fact. I know this because I had 2 cousins who went there. I think 2. Cal Poly has only a 38% acceptance rate.
Damn.
Like you have to be
smart.
Just for comparison. UT, where I went, has an acceptance rate of 94.7.
I got accepted to UT. I've never even taken like an ACT.
They were like, just come.
I graduated with like a 2.4.
Just show up.
They're like, you know what? You're in. I'm like, okay, say less.
The average GPA you would need to be accepted, and this is on the low end, is between a 3.8 and a 4.0.
Oh, Jesus. Criminy. I could never dream of it.
I didn't graduate.
It's Harvard to me.
It's basically. So she was very smart. She would frequent a restaurant called the Pacific Cafe where one of her neighbors worked. While she was frequenting this restaurant, she met Scott Peterson, who also worked at that cafe. Laci made the first move, sending him her phone number. When he finally called, they began dating and soon fell deeply in love.
Oh my God, can you imagine when you had to, you couldn't just shoot a text. You had to literally call somebody.
Yeah. You had to write out your phone number.
Hey, it's Scott.
What a nightmare.
Oh my God. I don't ever answer my phone.
Never.
They didn't have caller ID, so I guess you had to answer it.
No.
You would have never been able to talk to me ever.
Never. I was unreachable. Sharon Rocha remembers the moment in summer of 1994 when the phone rang and the voice of energy and exuberance was on the other end. Laci said, I have met the man I'm going to marry. You've just got to get down here and meet him. When Sharon asked if they had gone out yet, she said, not yet, but we will.
Gross.
Disgusting.
Love.
Now I'm going to get into the background of Scott before we put it all together. So Scott Lee Peterson was born October 24th, 1972 in San Diego, California to Lee Arthur Peterson and Jackie Latham. Peterson's father worked for a trucking company and later owned a packaging business. His mother was the owner of a tiny boutique in Modesto, California called The Put On.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
Isn't it? I kind of like it.
I put on for my city.
That's what she was thinking of.
That's the only song I would play in my store. I put on.
It would have really fit
Marketing
in with
genius.
Modesto.
I mean, that song doesn't exist, but maybe that's where the song was inspired from.
It probably
Who
was
sings that
Scott
song?
Peterson's mom's tiny boutique.
Millionaire
in
or
Modesto.
someone like that.
It is someone like that, because I was going to ask you who sang it. Sang it. So
Who hit the vocals on that one?
Lee and Jackie both had other children. So Scott did have about 6 siblings, but he was the only child of both of them.
Feels it.
You do feels it?
How me and my sister are.
It is.
Millions of siblings.
While a student at the University of San Diego High School, he worked as a caddy, which is so weird to me that they call it the University of San Diego High School. Like they're really trying too hard.
What?
Isn't that weird?
Like, what does something need to be to be a university?
I don't fucking know the word, I guess. Hell if I know.
Huh.
Anyway, while he was there, he worked as a caddy at a local golf course and participated on his high school's golf team that did not want to come out.
If you guys didn't know, I'm an esteemed golfer these days.
We are sports deep up at this table.
We are. Baseball mom, golf player, tennis player.
Volleyball player.
Oh, God, you are. I need to take up another sport.
We can't afford it.
I really want to be on an adult softball team. I think I would thrive.
I could see that, actually.
I think I'd be so good.
I will never play softball because of the incident when I was KO'd
By a softball?
in kindergarten. You've never heard this story?
I don't know that I have.
It's my parents' favorite story to tell.
I'll ask your mom when this is over.
Long story short, they put me at the pitcher's mound to watch.
Fuck no. Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Which I don't want to ever do, so I wasn't paying attention. This kid was doing steroids. Just blasted this fucker. I'm sure this happened in slow motion to everyone watching because I'm actively not looking. I'm doing anything but, and this ball is just beelining it from my forehead. It's short. It knocked me out, down on the ground, black out. I woke up like I'm done. You said this would be fun. It's not. I'm done.
I was on a softball team twice, like in middle school, and I quit both times because I wasn't getting put on teams with people that I liked, and it was during the summer. I wanted to play and swim.
Yeah, no.
Ugh. But now I'm an adult. Like, it'd be so fun. Like, can I get
drink
drunk
and play softball now?
Yeah. Still waiting for my volleyball invitation because I'm pretty good at volleyball, but
you're always invited.
Whatever. I can't commit to it. I have commitment issues.
Okay. So he was very into golf. He had big golf dreams. This is how this all started. Mm-hmm. He started golfing with his dad and then eventually ended up becoming better than his dad, like one of those. He also went to high school with Phil Mickelson, who was like a super famous golfer. Wow. He's one of the OGs. Huh. Scott's teammates and friends would describe him as arrogant sometimes. Mm. He was also dating a girl named Stephanie Smith. She was in the 10th grade and he was a senior. Oh. It's a little weird for me.
Oh, well, I've done much weirder.
I mean, it feels normal when you're in it because it's just a cool older guy, but now I'm like, what?
10? That's only 2 years apart.
I don't like it.
It's a sophomore and a senior.
I am calling the police.
Don't be a hater. The other guys loved me. So.
They had been dating for a few months when someone told Stephanie a girl named Dawn Hood was driving Scott's new car and they were holding hands.
Slut.
When she confronted him, he said that Dawn was just a friend and he holds hands with all of his friends.
That motherfucker would have slit his tires on his new car.
So smartly, Stephanie broke up with him and then he literally started dating Dawn. Just a little tidbit on how Scott was able to act sometimes.
Dawn's a Mr. Steal Your Mans.
Because the article I used with a lot of Scott's background was written with his parents. Oh. It paints him in a certain light. A very good light.
Mm. He was a little douchey.
A little. So I obviously just tried to use the bare bones of that interview to gather his background. Like I said, some bias might be underlying there. Both Stephanie and Dawn gave police interviews saying Scott was basically perfect. So he's like one of those people. Mm-hmm. Extremely charming. Can do no wrong. So that's how he comes across. That's how like all these interviews come across. And his parents talk about him. But so I'd like to throw little things in there. Like, by the way, he's not that fucking great.
A douchey little teenager.
He was.
Ugh.
He graduated from the University of San Diego High School. Again, I just hate saying it. It pisses me off. And spent a semester at Arizona State University before returning home to attend Cuesta College in San Luis Obispo.
A salute!
I was hoping you were going to do that. I took a brief pause.
I know.
His golf teammates were under the impression he attended ASU because they offered him a walk-on spot on the golf team there. ASU came out and said that Scott was never even on their roster. His dad, Lee, also said nothing was guaranteed to him at ASU either. He said the coach invited him to try out for the team and see what happened from there. So I don't know what's going on there. If Scott told all these people that he was on this college team and he wasn't, I'm not sure. His dad did give an interview where he said it was probably a mistake sending him there because it was such a big golf school. Like, I don't know what that means, if, like, maybe Scott wasn't as good as he thought he was, and his dad was like, we probably should not have showed him actual golf players. I don't know. That whole situation is weird to me. That information was weird.
Had to knock him down a few notches.
Yeah. He did, however, play on the golf team at Cuesta College, so I'm beginning to think maybe he just wasn't as good as he thought he was. He lived with his parents for a while and then decided to go out on his own. His dad described this part of his life as, like, Animal House, the John Belushi movie. Are you familiar?
I've never watched it.
It's very good. Just like a frat house bachelor type of deal, just shit fucking everywhere. Living with multiple roommates, working 3 jobs. Living with multiple roommates, already a nightmare. I'm working 3 jobs to do it. That's not happening.
Fuck no.
I'm not doing that. Can you imagine coming home from 3 jobs and having people in your house? I have 1 job and I come home and there's 2 people here and I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
No. No. Not the vibe I want.
Then, in 1994, he transferred to nearby California Polytechnic State University, where he majored in agricultural business. So he must have been smart. I don't know how he got there. I don't see it. One of his agribusiness professors. He was so distracted that agribusiness sounds like
it sounded
agribar from the Latin.
Agrabah.
Yes, that's what it is. Whatever.
The Prince of Agrabah.
His professor, Jim, said he seemed more mature than most. He was pleasant to deal with. I wouldn't mind having a class full of Scott Petersons, which is not something you want on the record right now. It's not something that comes out like later. Like it could come out later, and now you are on record saying you wish you had a classroom full of Scott Petersons, knowing what we know now. That's embarrassing. You probably quit.
Probably. It's like, I never said that. They heard me wrong.
No, I didn't. I would never. So, this, we know, is where he meets Laci Rocha. However, before he was dating Laci, he was dating a girl named Michelle, who also worked at the cafe. The two dated for 18 months. And Scott,
that's long.
Long time. Scott was talking about marriage. Scott then became overbearing and jealous, so Michelle broke it off with him. He did not take no for an answer. He would cry. He kept begging her to get back together, which is my least favorite.
Sounds like, I can picture.
Yeah,
I can just picture
manipulative.
the type.
Michelle said he seemed to bottle up his emotions and then just sort of lose it and have an emotional breakdown. Then magically,
so awkward.
So weird.
I would have to leave.
Listen,
I'm sorry you're going through this, but I can't do it.
Then magically, a few weeks after that, he was all better and he started dating Laci. So this is weeks. Yeah. His family said he was immediately smitten with the little brunette girl. He told his siblings he hoped she was the future Mrs. Peterson.
God, you're in college. Why are you talking about marriage?
I don't know, because he's a fucking weirdo.
Back then, though,
yeah,
people did get married really young.
This was like, what, 94?
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I feel like it just stopped happening.
Their first date that week was a deep sea fishing trip where Laci basically threw up the whole time from being on a boat. Sharon drove down to visit her daughter that same weekend. They went to the Pacific Cafe, and Scott had placed roses, a dozen white for Sharon and a dozen red for Laci, at their table.
Oh my God. Ew.
Sharon said she was in love from the beginning.
I'm sure, but I am like, cringe. Ew.
No, I don't like it either.
Don't even look at my mother.
So weird.
Just don't even, buy her flowers. You sick freak.
I just can't ever think of a time where that is like genuine. Like you're just trying to look good.
Your funeral. Some people are probably like, what's wrong with you guys? That's so sweet.
Probably. No, I don't like it either.
Ew. Get away. I would have left immediately. Never talked to him again.
However, what Laci didn't know was Scott was still begging Michelle to get back together. Yeah.
Oh my God. So typical. Like this.
Yeah.
I've seen it all.
He would take Laci to the cafe so Michelle would see them while she was working and try and make her jealous. Laci eventually...
like Spencer Pratt.
It is. He does have Spencer Pratt energy.
Yeah, he does. Oh my God.
I feel very mouth noisy today. Hopefully no one notices.
I think you're always pretty mouth noisy.
No, I'm not. Why would you say that?
Give you a complex.
I think we're usually pretty good because when I edit it, there are certain points every once in a while where I'm like, ugh, and I edit it out. Even if it sounds weird.
Whatever.
It's got to fucking go. So Laci eventually caught on and was obviously very fucking pissed. However, Michelle ended up moving out of the city anyway 2 months later and never spoke to Scott again.
Yeah, I bet fucking not.
Good for her.
Fuck you, dude.
Literally the worst.
Ugh. Man, that's got to be something to look back on, huh?
100%. That lady's like, holy fuck. I knew it. Laci basically was moved into Scott's apartment by Christmas of 1995. And for Christmas that year, Laci got Scott a dog named Mackenzie. It was a golden retriever.
Of course it was.
And Mackenzie is also a boy, which is weird to me.
It's a rich boy name.
It is a rich boy name.
Mackenzie. Like Mackenzie Gilmore the third. That's what it sounds
Makes
like.
perfect sense when you say it like that.
I know. I'm fucking weird.
We
Stuff
really
that comes in
we
my
are.
head sometimes. I'm like, no one else would have thought that, right?
On August 9th, 1997, so 2 years later, after Laci's graduation, they had an elegant wedding with an abundance of flowers at Sycamore Mineral Springs Resort in San Luis Obispo County's Avila Valley. About
Sounds beautiful.
150 friends and family members came to celebrate the day with them. Yet the resort manager recalls Scott hang out in the bar on the day of the wedding, hitting on the waitress.
Hell yeah.
Nothing's going to stop him.
Oh my God.
After they got married, they lived apart for a brief period of time while Laci took a temporary job in Prunedale and Scott finished school because Scott was behind her.
Honey, he's cheating on you.
This is when Scott dated 2 other women.
Oh my God.
It never
Why
ends.
did he want a wife so badly?
I don't fucking know. I asked myself that for like 7 straight hours.
Like, why get married?
Janet and Kathy. Janet was quite a bit younger than Scott, around 6 years younger. She was immediately smitten by him, obviously. He planned all of their dates. He would get her lots of gifts, the whole 9 yards.
Do these girls know he's married?
No.
Oh my God.
And he would get them good gifts, like designer dresses.
Dude, back in the day, you were fucked, though. Like, you couldn't look him up on Facebook.
He got her 12 dozen roses. Like,
At one time?
yes.
What?
Yeah. I can't do the math on that.
12 times 12.
144?
12 times 12?
I don't know.
I don't fucking know either. I'm trying to do the math.
I think it's 144.
I have not a clue. I'm not
Is
even
it wrong?
I'm not even gonna venture to guess.
I don't fucking know.
Oh my God, you're right.
What?
You fucking genius. Goodwill Hunting up in this bitch.
That's so funny.
Sometimes I see an equation. And
Okay.
I just solve it.
So I'm talking about Janet right now.
Okay.
I forgot to put that in there. Okay, so he invited her on an all-inclusive Mexico trip. Like,
A fucking vacation.
with his girlfriend
A
when
couple's
his
trip.
wife is at home. He's married. He's married, if you're forgetting.
Oh my God, this is insanity.
She said she felt he was moving too fast. You think? Her and her roommates would often sleep at Scott's apartment, and he would show up at her apartment with groceries and stuff. Like,
They must not have a joint bank account.
they can't. She decided to surprise him at his apartment after 5 months of dating and went up to his room and saw him in bed with someone else. He did not react at all. He didn't freak out. He didn't try to explain nothing. He just looked at her until she left. So she left. She said she couldn't believe he was cheating on her, and that's when his roommate said he's actually married, so he's cheating on her.
Well, kill him. Just kill him.
He apologized a week later. He reached out to Janet and he said, "I'm sorry you caught me in bed with Laci." And that was that.
So she walked in on him with Laci.
Yes, like Laci saw her. Oh. Yeah. So he has gotten caught.
But was he also still dating this other girl or no?
No.
No.
These are 2. I'm going to get into her.
Oh,
I did kind of make it
okay.
seem like it was at the same time.
They're
he dated 2 women
different-
separately.
Jesus.
2 different cheating occurrences while he's married.
Okay.
After this, he started dating Kathy a bit more seriously. They would go on hikes with his dog all the time. The dog Laci bought him. She would go over to his house all the time. She asked him if he had ever been engaged or married, and he said no. And then said he lied and said that he was married before, but they were separated.
Oh, well, there you go.
She had no reason not to believe him. He lived with roommates. He did not wear a ring. There were no photos of Laci at his house. None of her things were there.
My husband doesn't wear a ring.
He's cheating on you with a woman named Kathy. Scott then graduated in 1998. Kathy assumed they would continue to date after graduation. But at their graduation ceremony, she said she saw a brunette woman place a lei around his neck and kiss him. Mm-hmm. His wife.
Like, he doesn't, like,
He doesn't
you're not
care.
bothered, not nervous. The fact that,
They're at the same place.
what the fuck?
Kathy said it was just the sort of interaction where you could tell it was someone serious. Like, this wasn't like a random girl coming up and like, congratulations. She's like, I could immediately tell, like, this was someone else.
Oh, my God.
He then introduced Laci to Kathy and then did not talk to Kathy again that entire day.
This man has nerves of steel.
The word sociopath comes up a
Not
lot.
1 ounce of anxiety.
Nope.
I would have diarrhea. I
introduced
wouldn't
them.
have been able to go. Like, I
No.
would have had to skip my whole graduation.
I would have said it was canceled. Something lied.
Yeah, no.
A few weeks later, he sent a dozen pink roses to Kathy saying that he had no job or home, which wasn't true. He was living with his wife. But whatever. She never contacted him again after that.
Thank God.
Can you imagine? Like,
At least these women
you
are,
go
like,
to
smart enough to leave.
you go to graduation with your boyfriend. You're like, we're going to graduate. We're going to stay together, do something great.
We're about to start our lives together.
And he introduces you to his wife in front of everyone.
I would have thrown up.
Same.
Like, I would have caused a scene. I would have ruined his whole day.
Everyone's
I'm like,
day.
your wife? Oh, is she aware you've been fucking me?
Yeah. Not
Is
a
she aware
concern.
you're in a committed relationship with me as well?
Not a concern of his.
What?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah. Like,
Like, these are the things that, like, you don't know about this case. Like, all the shit Scott had done. He was originally offered a job from the Archer Daniels Midland Company as a food buyer in Ohio because he went to school for agricultural business, so it was a good fit. However, he declined, and he and Laci decided upon opening a restaurant. Nothing giant or fancy. They just opened, like, a burger joint right by campus. They called it The Shack.
Cute.
That was kind of cute. For months, Scott and Laci Peterson worked behind windows covered with newspapers to convert an old bakery and a strip mall to what would eventually become The Shack, a casual hangout with buckets of peanuts on every table. Laci handled the decorating, incorporating signs painted on driftwood and wine barrel trash cans and an old fishing tackle box on the front door. Like, she was all in on this theme. It seemed to be moderately successful, but they grew frustrated by being owners when they couldn't find good employees and they couldn't have a real day off without being interrupted with something.
That's why I don't open a business like that.
That's the only reason.
Not that I want to get approved for the business loan. Just, I can't handle the responsibility.
So, after 2 years, in 2000, they sold The Shack, which probably a good choice. Mm-hmm. In 1999, Laci's grandmother died, and she wanted to live closer to her parents, so they took this opportunity after they sold The Shack to move to Modesto. After living with her parents for 2 weeks, before moving into a temporary home. That was worded weird. Oh, because I said it wrong.
Oh, okay. Okay, so she never, like, I mean, I'm sure something happened about, like, him cheating on her.
Yeah, that comes up later.
Oh, okay.
I think she was very private about that.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't want anyone to know that Scott had cheated on her.
Because
So he really got away with
living
that.
a great life.
Yeah. So after living with her parents for 2 weeks, before moving into a temporary home, and then with the help of Laci's parents, they bought the house on Covina Avenue, which is where all this takes place. Scott was a typical husband, which is sort of a reoccurring theme with Scott, is that he's able to mirror other people to be what they want. Mirroring is a very typical trait of a sociopath. They use it to give you a false sense of security and make you believe they are exactly like you.
I would never want to be with someone like me.
No.
It's my worst nightmare. I'm just kidding. But they give you what you want.
Exactly.
They're
It's not,
being
I guess
who
it's
you-
less of
who they think you want them to be.
Exactly. Once they assess what you really want, they will lie to offer you exactly that. If you are financially unstable, they will offer stability. Laci very much wanted Scott to be the typical suburban husband, so that's what he did. He renovated the bathroom. He built a nice outdoor brick grill. He and Laci were trying for a baby. He didn't want any of these things, but he's doing it perfectly because he's a sociopath. They had been trying for a while, and right when Laci was ready to get professional opinions, she found out she was pregnant. She was obviously very elated, and by all accounts, so was Scott, who had rushed to her side to feel the baby kick. He looked visibly happy. However, Laci's sister-in-law, Rosemary Rocha, remembered a conversation in summer of 2001 where Scott had actually said he was sort of hoping for infertility. This dude's an asshole. And Rosemary did say he seemed hesitant around children, but he did go to some of Laci's appointments with her, which I don't know if that's supposed to be a good thing. You should go to all of them.
Would assume.
Yeah. 2 days before Christmas, Laci's brother Brent called and asked if he could bring their grandfather down from the nursing home for their Christmas, Laci agreed immediately and said brunch was at 10:30 and they would open gifts after. So her and Scott made plans to buy him like a fruit basket or just something to open because it was very last minute that he was going to be there. That was their plan. However, Laci would not see her grandfather. On December 24th, 2002, Scott returned to their home on Covina Drive around 4:45 p.m. and pulled in next to Laci's Range Rover. Scott entered their home from the backyard and was greeted by their dog Mackenzie, who had his leash still clipped to his collar, which is weird. Like a walking leash, like no one unclipped it.
Right.
So Scott went inside. He got some food, changed, called Laci's mom around 5:17 p.m. He asked if Laci was over their house because they were supposed to go over there around 7. So he's thinking she might have just got picked up and went over there early, which isn't that crazy of a thought. Of course, Laci was not already at her parents' house, and Scott said Laci is missing. So her parents were immediately on edge. They told Scott to start calling her friends and the neighbors to see if anyone saw her. And by this time, Laci is about 8 months pregnant, timeline-wise. She's huge.
Okay.
So they're worried she's at the hospital and like something's wrong. Like she's having the baby. Something is medically wrong. By 5:32 p.m., Scott confirms nobody has seen Laci, which is not that much time he spent calling people. At 5:47 p.m., Laci's stepfather, Ron Gransky, called 911 to report her missing, which is odd that it comes up. It's weird that Scott didn't call her and missing. Usually adults don't get immediate attention, but her being pregnant did get a police officer to her parents' house by 6 p.m. So this is like within the hour. Shit is rolling.
Okay.
Meanwhile, her mother was out in her car, physically looking for her. Scott was joining her when the police showed up to the search area, which is an area that Laci frequently would walk their dog. Laci's mom asked if Laci's purse was at home, and Scott said he didn't know. And Laci's mom said that she would just go check the house and see if it was there. This is when the police take the opportunity to sort of be like, actually, like, why don't we go check? Like, we will go to the house. This is where they sort of start testing Scott. Not that he was an immediate suspect, but he's acting very calm at this point. Very cavalier.
For your very pregnant wife.
Missing. So they sort of just asked Scott what he was up to that day. He tells them he was fishing, but he was pretty elusive about the details at the time, which sort of raised some red flags for them right away. He wouldn't say what he was fishing for, what bait he used, things like that. The police searched the house looking for anything out of the ordinary, noting Scott's odd behavior when they hit one of the cars with another car door. So, like, they opened their car door and hit his truck with their car door, and he was like, then he was pissed. Wife missing, no. Can you not door ding me in my own fucking house? A Detective Bracchini. I think it's Bracchini. I highlighted it to look up how to say it, and I didn't look it up. Broccini. Bracchini. Or Bracchini.
I would say Bracchini.
But I feel like I'm saying bikini with an R.
I know.
Bracchini.
My Bracchini.
All right, whatever. Detective Bracchini did actually question Scott that night, which is not really that normal. Like, they taped an interview with him. But I think Scott's weirdness and the fact that Laci was extremely pregnant sort of fast-tracked all of this. Scott told them about the morning. He said that Laci got up first. He had a bowl of cereal. Oh, no. Laci got up first. She had a bowl of cereal. He laid in bed a little longer and got up around 8 a.m. He showered, and then he and Laci watched Martha Stewart on TV. He did specify it was an episode that had something to do with meringue cookies. He said he then had cereal and decided whether or not he was going to go golfing or go fishing for sturgeon instead. So now he's getting specific about the details. This is when I say the book was biased. This is around the part I really started to realize it. First off, the author stated there was no picture of a cereal bowl in the sink, and it's never too cold to golf if you're an avid golfer. Because he was like, it was too cold to golf, so I went fishing instead. She's like, if you really golfed, you would never do that.
Okay, well.
I'm like, okay, well, if it's cold, it's cold, and you don't fucking feel like it.
And you're just going to go do something else you really enjoy doing that you can, like, bundle up and
Not like you decided to do nothing. Yeah. So, whatever. And I mean, just because there's not a cereal bowl in the sink. Like, I think Laci was a very clean person. She could have immediately put it away.
They have a dishwasher.
Not saying it's normal, but it's not as weird as they're trying to make it sound.
Yeah, that seems like a weird thing to, like, hone in on there.
Yeah. Scott then said that Laci's plan for the day was to finish cleaning, mop the floors, take Mackenzie for a walk, go to the store to get breakfast stuff, and then come home and prep gingerbread cookies. Then there's a whole thing with this mop bucket. Scott claims when he got home, the mop bucket was by the back door, and he immediately emptied it. He said he filled the mop bucket before he left to go fishing and put it by the entryway for Laci, who had plans to mop the back entryway. He claims he filled it because she couldn't lift it.
Yeah, very pregnant.
Yes. So how would she have been able to mop the back entryway if the bucket was all the way in the front?
When she could have pushed it.
Right, which makes sense when he's saying it, but the author goes on to say that Laci couldn't have operated a mop in her condition, which is so dramatic.
She's 8 months pregnant. She's not handicapped.
I mean, nesting, insane strength.
You know the shit I did when I was 8 months pregnant? Scrubbed a whole bathtub. Like,
yeah, should she be doing it? No. Will she? Yes,
yes.
She absolutely will be cleaning her home. So just things like that were weird. Not weird, but very biased.
Yeah, you can tell they're, leaning one way for sure.
Yeah. Scott then says the receipt from the marina has him arriving there around 12:55, which would mean that he left Modesto around 11:30, maybe earlier because he was towing his trailer, which cannot, or it will not, it didn't specify, go over 55 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. He drove straight there and did not stop for bait or food. He then says he only went on the water for about an hour and a half. He said he only went about a couple miles north. He came across a little island. He specified the island. There was a sign on there. The detective asked if he trolled for sturgeon, and he said a little, and then said he just mainly wanted to get the boat on the water. So trolling is like when you have a line off the back of a moving boat. It's called trolling. And it was actually illegal to troll for sturgeon. And it wasn't the right season to fish for sturgeon, allegedly. So I think they were setting him up.
Yeah.
Big time. Like, were you trolling for sturgeon? Wrong. Both of those things are illegal. Then he pulled the boat back in about 90 minutes later, talked to a couple of guys who didn't catch anything either, and then went home the same way he got there. He called Laci around 2:15 as he was leaving the marina and said, "Hey, beautiful, it's 2:15. I'm leaving Berkeley." Very specific, weird voicemail to leave. Mm-hmm. He got gas, paid by credit card with no receipt, dropped the boat off at the warehouse, and went home. He did see a fax at the warehouse, which placed him there at a certain time, and then he called home again.
Why are you calling home so often, though?
Weird.
If you're about to be there.
Yeah, it's very weird. This is where he got home, found Mackenzie in the backyard with his leash still on him. He entered the unlocked house, ate some pizza, took a shower, and then called Laci's mom. As we know, he spent less than 15 minutes calling Laci's friends and their neighbors, and then they went up to look for her. Scott stated he had no idea where Laci was, and he did initially agree to take a polygraph test. Now, he didn't have a lawyer yet, so he does not end up taking this polygraph test. This is probably why I'm sure he was like, sure, I'll take one, and then his lawyer was like,
No, you will not.
Actually not. The interview ended at 1:30 a.m. the same day Laci went missing. So this whole thing he's telling to the police.
Such a long day.
Yeah, your wife goes missing, and then you're questioned by the police for hours. The notes of this interview would go on to say that Scott seemed bored, devoid of any emotion, no sense of urgency, and casual, which it does appear that way. Mm-hmm. If he truly believed his wife was still out there needing help, he probably would have appeared more stressed. Like why are we sitting here?
A bit hysterical.
Yeah.
That your 8-month pregnant wife who could barely lift a mop bucket is like nowhere to be found.
The lack of urgency suggests he knows Laci doesn't need to be saved. Mm-hmm. But you can't judge someone how they act after. I mean, this was a very prolonged, casual response. Usually you can't judge how people act like immediately from finding out something shocking.
Like he never
wasn't rattled within any of those hours.
Yeah.
The next day was just full of asking questions. The detectives started to ask their neighbors if they saw anything out of the ordinary. One person specified Scott was backed into the driveway, which was unusual.
Chris Watts.
I was like getting Chris Watts vibes. There's a couple things in here, and I think I wrote it in here that remind me of that. One neighbor said that the living room blinds were not open, even though Laci always opened them in the morning. This is when you realize how nosy your neighbors are. Like, how do you know that my blinds are usually open? And they're probably right.
Yeah.
Laci probably did open the
Mine
blinds
are
in the
literally
morning.
never open, except for Brody's room. Wide open. He don't give a shit.
One neighbor said Scott came over and said he had been golfing all day and couldn't get a hold of Laci. He seemed nervous and then went to another neighbor to ask them and then returned home. By 11:30 a.m. Christmas Day, Burkini requested that the homicide department officially become involved, which is wild.
Like, already?
We're like 12 hours into this, and they're like, get homicide in here. Yeah. As new Detective Grogan is catching up, another officer is getting their first statement with some actual concrete information.
God, Christmas crimes. How inconvenient.
Fucking awful. Karen Service, Peterson's neighbor, stated that she backed out of her driveway at 10:30 a.m. when she saw a dog barking near the street with the leash still attached. She checked the collar to make sure it was Mackenzie and then walked Mackenzie to the back entrance of the Peterson's backyard because the front entrance was locked and put him in the back. So now they know around the time Laci would have already been missing because Mackenzie's back home at 10:30. So they know Laci went missing before 10:30, allegedly.
And Scott allegedly hadn't left until around like 11 something, right?
No, Scott ended up leaving. I get into the timeline in a few minutes, but it ends up being like 9-ish. Scott left.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So at 1 p.m., the detectives gathered at the police station because Scott's polygraph test was scheduled that afternoon. Well, they received a call from Scott saying he changed his mind. Mm-hmm. He claims his dad advised him against it. The detectives think he had no intention of ever taking the test. Scott was already at the police station that afternoon. Like, he called them from the police station, like, I'm actually not going to do it. So the detectives decided to just go confront him. Basically, they said, well, if you're not willing to do this, can you answer some more questions for us? And Scott was like, I would be happy to help. He's acting very bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll help, but not that much.
So now I'm going to get into the timeline right quick. On December 23rd, Scott said they went to a doctor's appointment, and then that night they went to Laci's sister's salon so Scott could get a haircut, and so Laci's sister could show Laci how to trim Scott's hair and curl her own hair. Then he went back over the events the morning she went missing. We already know. He said he got up at 8 a.m. Laci was already marinating bread for the French toast, which they never checked the fridge for this, so they can't say if he was lying or not, because they just actually never bothered to check. Mm-hmm. Laci was wearing a white pullover and black maternity pants and said that she was going to walk Mackenzie and bake cookies. He did say she was wearing some expensive pieces of jewelry, like a necklace, watch, bracelet, and earrings. Her wedding ring was at the jeweler's to be reworked to include her grandmother's stones, which Scott did for her as a Christmas present. No other presents to Laci were ever found, which was interesting. There were no presents for Laci.
Oh.
Not a good sign.
No.
Like, there was like a Louis Vuitton bag under there.
Sometimes,
like one big present.
Yeah.
Or did he know she wouldn't be there?
Or did he? I don't know. I'm just saying. Sometimes,
no one does.
Sometimes I've received just one big gift.
Yeah. Sometimes nothing.
No, that's not an option. I gotta get something.
One of the girls from my work said that her very first Mother's Day,
well, Mother's Day is another story. I've had some.
Her very first Mother's Day, her boyfriend said, "You're not my mom." She said that was the last time that he ever did that. Wouldn't you fucking die?
Yes.
I would be pissed. Like,
I would just.
Did you see what I did for you?
I would leave the child and him there, and I would just leave for the whole day. I'm like, you're right. Okay.
So he then went over Laci's workout routine, which is a walk through Covina Park, always with Mackenzie, and it took around 45 minutes. Except this time, he said it was not unusual for Laci to leave the door unlocked, which contradicts what he said the last time, that the door should have been locked. He then said he had researched where he wanted to go fishing earlier that week, and said that Laci never went fishing with him after getting seasick on her first date with him. He then said he left at 9:30 a.m. when the Martha Stewart program was on. Now, where he was sort of vague on his timeline and plans for that morning fishing, he was full of details now.
Yeah.
He was just giving them
like,
up.
wait, no, I have all of the answers as to why I couldn't have done this.
I'm fishing for sturgeon at the Stripper Bay. He has things. He's ready. So he had literally just gotten this boat not that long before this. And that day was his first outing with it, which is why he was saying earlier that he didn't really know the whole plan. He just wanted to get the boat in the water. He just wanted to get in the water for the first time.
Yeah.
So when he got to the warehouse, he checked his email, sent a holiday note to his boss. He assembled a mortiser, which is some sort of woodworking machine that cuts holes into wood. He then cleaned his office, unloaded his tools from his toolbox, and loaded the boat up. He said he left for the marina around 11. What is swirling around in their minds right now is the timestamps on the email are taken as fact that happened. Like, the email times are exact.
Right.
So they're already assuming that Scott used this time to hide Laci's body on the boat. So he's saying he did all these things at the warehouse. They're thinking, you used that time to put Laci's body out of your truck into the boat. They immediately do not like him. He then describes driving to the marina, getting there around 1 o'clock, getting a receipt from the parking meter, and putting the boat in the water. He took no food, water, and he forgot his brand new lures that he bought just days ago. His argument there was that he knew he didn't have a lot of time. He just wanted to get the boat in the water. He's like, I'm not packing a lunch, water, all this shit. Like, I knew I was running out of time.
Yeah.
He recalls being on the water for around an hour, coming across that small island that said no landing, and then the weather started to change and rain, so he decided to head back. He loaded the trailer. He claims some people noticed him because he wasn't doing a great job of doing so. And then he calls Laci on the way home at 2:15 and left her a message. We already know that exists. There was traffic on his way home. He stopped to get $13 worth of gas. Felt it, except that probably filled his car up.
Back then? Yeah.
$13 of gas is getting me out of the parking lot.
I don't think not doing much.
And after that, he called Laci once again, once he realized there was no way he was going to have time to stop and buy the fruit basket. He got to the warehouse around 4:30 p.m. and unloaded the boat and was back on the road in less than 5 minutes. He then, again, recounts how he got home to an empty house, Laci gone, Mackenzie with the leash, the mop bucket, all of this shit. Mm-hmm. He washed his clothes and took a shower before calling Laci's mom. This presented as extremely weird and guilty in the book. While it doesn't look great if he expected her to be with her mom, it's not outrageous to assume that Laci was picked up.
Right.
They're thinking, like, he should have gotten home and immediately been like,
where is she?
Something is wrong. I think they were so close of a family, it's not crazy that Laci would have called her mom, like, Scott's fishing, I'm bored, I'm coming over anyway, you can just come get me. Whatever. Then they went over their finances to discover that they were barely breaking even, and went over the fact that they both had life insurance policies. This doesn't really come up. It doesn't become like one of those life insurance cases, but they did have them. They went over the list of weapons Scott had, which was like 6 to 7 guns. But, like, I don't know exactly, but there was a list of weaponries. Then Scott's parents showed up and the interview was over around 4:30 p.m. Scott's dad was basically like, no more without a lawyer. Like, he doesn't need to be talking to you without a lawyer right now. Which is true. The police again reminded them that Scott refused to take a polygraph test and it would clear him as a suspect, which is not true.
See, that's my thing. I'm like, yeah, it makes you look guilty if you don't want to sit there for hours and hours on end without a lawyer. But how many times have you seen someone be interviewed without a lawyer and then they get coerced into a false confession?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what I've done. I'm going to get a lawyer before I'm questioned for anything.
100%. I won't answer any questions.
No.
And they say it'll clear you as a suspect. It will not. Won't. They're just going to use whatever they get to fuck you even further.
You could accidentally lie, and they're going to say, well.
Exactly. And again, Scott declined to take it. He was like, thanks, but no thanks. If they weren't already looking at him, they were for sure looking at him right after this when, one, a marina operator informed them that there was no rain on Christmas Eve, which blows apart a large portion of his story because his thing was it rained, so I left. And that's the reason he washed his clothes, because they were full of, like, salt, water, and rain. So he washed his clothes because of the rain. This man at the marina was like, it surely did not rain on Christmas Eve here. And two, he called asking for an update and asked them if they had tried using cadaver dogs yet. This is, like, the next day. 2 days.
My God. So you know in your head she is dead.
Yeah. He's like, have you tried using cadaver
You're not
dogs?
like, what a bad thing to say.
It's fucking wild.
That is not smart at all.
No. By December 26th, 2 days later, there's a lot of shit happening in these first couple days.
Yeah.
Scott's office was under surveillance due to the fact that police assumed that if there was any evidence, it could and most likely would be destroyed without any type of witness because of how remote his office was.
Yeah.
So, like, if he's destroying something, he's coming here, he's going to destroy it, and no one's even going to see him. Like, no one would be there to see him shredding papers, deleting emails.
Right.
Like, there's no one in there. It's a literal warehouse, I think. They also were compiling lists of sex offenders and people with violent backgrounds in the area, so they were sort of doing other things. Yeah. Another possible lead came in around 10 a.m. when a woman, Diana Campos, who worked at the hospital, swears she saw Laci in the area. At 10:45 in the morning on December 24th, she was taking her smoke break. Word. I want to take up smoking just to get additional breaks. So, she's taking her smoke break when she saw some people walking the dog park. This is the dog park Laci walks at.
Okay.
Not just a random dog park. She watched them walk about the length of a football field and remembers a golden retriever going crazy and a woman holding the leash trying to calm the dog down. There were 2 men with the woman. As the dog was barking, Campos recalled hearing one of the men tell the woman to shut the dog up. She didn't think anything of it until December 26th when she saw the missing persons poster and realized she was certain the woman that she saw at the dog park had been Laci. She insisted the woman she saw at Moose Park was Laci and doubled down and said that she would not have called the police unless she was absolutely sure. So this is Moose Park. I don't think this is Covina Park, but they're close. Mm-hmm. She then backpedaled and said that she was pretty sure and then clarified that she was really good with faces. She described the woman as wearing a white top and sweatpants, dark shoulder-length hair, about 6 to 7 months pregnant. She could not say what color the dog's leash was and said the men with her were around 5'7". So this would have someone seeing Laci after Scott is already away from her, far away from her. Mm-hmm. Around noon, they returned back to Scott's alibi. They confirmed with the harbor master, Ray Forsberg, that it had not rained on Christmas Eve. So Detective Burkini and Grogan used the slip-up to retain a search warrant for Scott's home and work. It's all over. I mean, it's not, but
yeah. Well,
but, I mean, all they need is one lie,
yeah,
and they can get all the papers they need. Because, like I said, he used that excuse as to why he was washing his clothes, why he only was out there for like an hour. A lot riding on this, so it's not that he lied; it's that lie could have been used to destroy a lot of shit. While they were getting the search warrants, Scott pulled up to his work to try and retrieve a computer from the office. They told him no. Scott called them and asked why a warrant was necessary. And the detectives were just sort of like, well, you have hardly been cooperating. You refused to schedule a polygraph. They bring up the polygraph all the time. They then met at Scott's house after Scott left a press conference early. At their next interview, Scott said he was going to use the computer to get a good picture of Laci for the posters. He was like, I was just going to have the computer to get a good picture of Laci off of it. Which, whatever, we'll never know. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the detectives explained that them searching the home and office could bring up clues of an intruder entering their house, cleaning up evidence. They could find evidence of a stalker, anything like that. Like, listen.
Yeah.
We can find something in here if you would just let us do it if you're not involved.
Right.
Scott seemed to understand, but threw the detectives for a loop when he refused to sign the waiver, allowing them to search without a warrant. He said he wasn't signing them without a lawyer, and he hadn't actually gotten a lawyer yet, but he had looked. The cops then just took some items of Laci's for the dogs to smell to search for her. So they weren't allowed to look for anything, but they did. Mm-hmm. He did give them some of Laci's stuff. Another small interesting thing that happened was Scott's mom, Jackie, had stuck up for Scott when a reporter thought it was odd Laci would go walking without her phone. And Jackie said, okay, well, everyone who knows Laci knows that her phone has been dead for weeks. Which led Burkini to ask, if everyone knew her phone was dead...
Why was he calling and leaving her a message?
Yeah, why did Scott call her twice?
So is his mom just doubling down on a lie, or was her phone like?
No. That afternoon, as the police were trying to control the crowds outside of the Peterson home, the neighbor across the street, Susan Medina, ran out of her house saying that they had been robbed. They had just gotten back from vacation. The police went over. It was very clearly robbed. Doors were kicked in, a safe was missing, drawers were open everywhere. So the cops started looking into that. And I'm sure I'll bring it up later, but there was a lot of crime in this neighborhood around this time. Like, several houses were robbed.
Yeah, but this is clearly very different than a robbery.
Yes. Meanwhile, Captain Christopher Boyer and a dog handler were at the Peterson house. At this point, Scott had retained a criminal lawyer, Kirk McAllister, and was waiting on a call from him. While they waited for the call, they briefed Scott on the bloodhound search that was going to happen and how that would work. At the time, they asked Scott again whether or not he had decided anything about the search waivers, and he said he had not. They then revealed that they have a search warrant and gave Scott 15 minutes to leave the house. They're like, okay, well, fine, we don't need it anyway.
Yeah. We just wanted to see what you were going to say.
Okay, I wrote a note in here to find a simpler version of this dog tracking, and I could not find a simpler version. So if this sounds confusing to you, that's because it is actually confusing.
Okay.
I'm going to do the best I can. During the bloodhound search, and also I'm almost done. During the bloodhound search, it was determined that Laci left in a car, not on foot, because the bloodhound tracked her scent in the street consistently and not on the sidewalk. So the dog's walking in the middle of the street. That's how, like, precise these scents are. They can tell.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? They then went to an intersection near Scott's business, and twice the dog smelled Laci's sunglasses and then took a route away from Scott's business. They then went to Scott's business, and the dog, again, left the business, and the handler said the dog would have walked right onto the highway if it had, indicating Laci was in a car and had definitely gotten on the highway. Later that night, Burkini went through Scott's truck and noticed that he removed several items from his truck between the day Laci went missing and now, including his jacket, a bag of fishing lures, backyard umbrellas, and a blue tarp, a tan tarp, and shotgun shells that were in the toolbox. All missing now.
Tarps.
Chris Watts.
Shady.
What they did find was a small gardening tool that was coated in dry cement, as if it had been used to mix some quick cement in a bucket, like he had used it to mix it up. And there was loose, ready mix of cement in the bed of the truck. They also found 4 small blood stains on the interior driver door and a possible blood stain on the back of the steering wheel. They then turned the car over to the FBI, who were there to assist at that time. They sprayed the car with hemoglow, which is a blood detecting fluid. And they said all those spots lit immediately up, including there was 2 more spots in the interior door pocket and the door handle. So all the spots they thought were blood were blood. Mm-hmm. Within 24 hours, there was a command center set up for searches at the Red Lion Hotel. Everyone was there except Scott, saying he wanted to make sure the focus was on Laci and not him, which of course made everyone hyper-focus on him.
Yeah, why would you not be there?
Also, this really reminds me, she swears, Gillian Flynn, author.
Gone Girl?
She swears it's not based on this, or loosely, it has to be. The Red Lion thing, they had a hotel at the command center. I'm pretty sure, there is a picture of Scott next to a missing poster of Laci smiling. I'm like, oh, you definitely did.
Oh my God.
It's like that. Get those vibes.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the detectives are now working on the marina. The groundskeeper there also confirmed it did not rain on Christmas Eve, and he did recall seeing a newer-looking pickup truck with a smaller trailer attached to it at 12:45 on Christmas Eve that had been having trouble backing up into the loading area. He was shown pictures of Scott and Scott's truck and couldn't confirm or deny that's who he saw. Mm-hmm. They then spoke to the marina manager, who confirmed again it didn't rain and said it would have been unusual for someone to take a 14-foot aluminum boat out at this time of year, because it was just unusual to fish in a boat like this unless you were crab fishing, which we know he was not, because he had clarified several times now. However, we do know that he just wanted to get the boat in the water. Maybe not that important. He said 100 times, and it was his first outing with the boat. However, 2 people working in the bait shop said it would be possible to catch perch or sturgeons also. Okay. Very conflicting things. At this time, Detective Bueller was interviewing 2 of Laci's close friends, Stacy Boyers and Lori Ellsworth, who she was friends with in high school. Both claimed they didn't notice any problems with Scott and Laci. However, the idea that he had something to do with it was getting more likely to them as time went on. Just seems odd that someone would break into their home and do something. Like, that just seemed odd in general.
Daytime hours, too.
And not take anything. Like, they just literally went in there to steal Laci. They also thought Scott's demeanor was just a little too weird for them, in contrast with the frantic energy of Laci's mother. Like, Laci's mom is freaking out this whole time, and Scott couldn't be bothered. They also interviewed Stacy's boyfriend, who recalled that Laci came to their Christmas party alone, and on the day Laci went missing, Scott called their home twice, frantically crying. But when they got to the Petersons' house to help look for Laci, it was clear Scott was not crying that day. Like, his face didn't look like it at all. Which some people, not me, can cry and not tell.
Oh, yeah, no.
But usually
if
you've been crying, your eyes are very puffy. It's very obvious you've been crying. On December 27th at 11 a.m., the detectives returned to search Scott's belongings and several things as evidence. They started logging several things as evidence, including the clothes Scott may have worn that day, because remember, he had washed them.
Yeah.
And he had about a day to live in the house. So he had about a day to do whatever he wanted before they realized that they wanted to take his stuff. So they pulled a pair of pants out that was in the dresser that had some spots on them. They took samples of some of the spots on the bed that could be blood. There was like tiny, Chris Watts, just tiny droplets of blood on the bed.
God, there's probably like weird spots of blood all over my bed because I'm a picker. Like I pick scabs in my bed. I'm like, oh God.
Phil's fucked.
It is. It's all been part of my plan.
And there was just a lot of other stuff. Both the tarps that were in the truck were now also in odd places. One was beneath a power washer, and the other one had gasoline leaking all over it, which made it impossible for cadaver dogs to search that area because the scent was so strong they couldn't get anything else. And Scott was a very clean person, like with his belongings. Like, that was just very odd that he would have done that. They also noticed most of the jewelry Scott said Laci was wearing that day was still in her jewelry box. So she wasn't like wearing any of that expensive stuff, he said. They also took 2 of his computers. At 4:15, the detective searched Scott's warehouse office. Basically, it was just an office room where he saw the facts, had the computer, and then a large open warehouse space where his trailer was. There was ready-mix cement in the trailer, also like there was on his truck. And in Scott's boat was a green duffel bag that had all the stuff that was missing from Scott's Scott's truck.
Scott's truck.
So they find a duffel bag in the boat with all the stuff that was missing from his truck. So he had taken all the stuff out of the truck and tried to hide it. They were also able to tell that Scott had been making 4 anchors with the ready-mix cement because they had already seen one of them, and there were 3 other distinct marks on the trailer. 4 anchors.
Not looking good.
No. Immediately no. Also on the ground were a pair of pliers with a dark human hair clamped in them, which was sent off for testing. There was also a search dog there who picked up several scents of Laci, including a spot on the boat, which, again, Laci had never been
in that boat.
Not saying she didn't touch it or anything, but he had just got, well, like, what are the odds? Her scent was on the boat, and she had never been in it. Later that evening, the detectives were following another lead of another robbery that took place around 11:40 a.m. Christmas Eve, right across the street from the Peterson house. Like I said, there's a lot of fucking shit going on in this street.
Doesn't sound like a good neighborhood.
No, it doesn't. Guys, I can see the part 2 heading. We're almost fucking there. So sorry. There's
the
also
urge I'm going to have to fight to not look this up.
There's also a weird side thing going on where a woman said that she was raped in a tan brown van like the one described in the robbery from other people. The detectives actually found the van, but there's nothing indicating Laci was ever near it. Mm-hmm. So that does come up. It's nothing. I already had enough shit going on. I didn't need to include that in there.
You've got enough going on.
I do. I'm like, just blip over that. December 30th, the detectives talked to Scott again. They asked about Laci's jewelry, and he said he can't remember the exact pieces she was wearing. They also asked about the 4 degrees hanging up in the house, and Scott said it was a joke from Laci because he went to school for so long. So he has 4 professionally matted college degrees hanging up in his office. He's saying, oh, it's just a joke. However, like I said, these degrees were professionally matted and hung, which it's I don't even have mine because it's hundreds for one. So it's like $1,000 on the wall. And the receipts show that Scott bought them, not Laci. The one in religious studies from Arizona State comes up later. Just a weird thing. So he has one claiming he graduated with religious studies from Arizona State. They also asked him about the blood, and Scott said he had all these rambling excuses about how he probably cut or scraped himself on something in there, and reminds them that his hands were already looked at the very night Laci went missing by Detective Burkini. And I mean, my hands are so dry they crack all the time. Yeah, I can understand not being able to explain.
Right.
There's blood everywhere. My fingers are
literally
active.
have blood like under my fingernails.
Bleeding right now. This comes up later because I do believe a theory the police were seriously thinking of was that Very Chris Watts, Scott strangled Laci at their house in bed. She scratched him trying to get free, which would explain the scrapes on him and the small amount of blood in their bed.
Yeah.
Scott then said Laci knew he bought the boat and she had in fact been down there to see it. This was confirmed when a witness came forward from the office building and said that Laci had been there a few days before she went missing and asked to use the bathroom. Again, for some reason, they never waver on this. This comes up a lot. They do not believe Laci was ever in the warehouse that day. So that couldn't explain her scent or her hair in there. The warehouse was very messy. Okay. Like, she probably went to his work, but there's no way she got all inside of this warehouse at 8 months pregnant. And she did ask to use someone else's bathroom. Mm-hmm. So she was at least in that vicinity. Whether or not she was near the boat, we really don't know. But she was there. Scott had bought the boat from a man named Bruce Peterson. No relation. Huh. Isn't that weird? There's another Peterson in here that's not related to them. For $1,400. And he bought it on December 8th. So less than 20 days. And said it had only been used a few times in fresh water. This is Scott saying this. He said it's only been used in fresh water, which would be concerning when the police tested the motor on the 26th and found remnants of salt water on it. So he had been driving it into the ocean. Okay. December 30th, after having been asked several times, Scott finally turned over the name of Laci's dentist. So he would not give the information of her dentist, which is odd because he kept saying he would find out. And then it turns out they have the same dentist. So he just handed over the name of his own dentist. So the detective, this is basically like good cop, bad cop. Grogan doesn't mind him. Burkini hates him. Very different energies. So Rogan started asking a few more questions, finding out that Scott had not been going to any press conferences about Laci, and revealing that the police were soon going to have to reveal to the press that you refused to take a polygraph test. Like, this is going to come out. It's going to look bad on you if you comes out you're actively refusing to take one. It's not weird that you wouldn't have, but when you are actively saying you won't do it.
Right.
He also revealed that he had, in fact, made an anchor close to the day Laci went missing, but he only admitted to making one, and he made it in a bucket.
What is the point of lying if they already found that? You know they found the rest. Why are you still lying?
They didn't find the rest.
Oh.
There were distinctive, like, cement circles where they could tell he had obviously made 4.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if he knows that they know that yet. So he claims he made an anchor in a bucket, whatever. The bucket was never found. They think he left the anchor in the bucket when he dropped Laci's body over the side of the boat. Mm-hmm. Rogan asked if Scott had any questions. He said he did not, and then hung up. He did not even ask any questions about the progress of finding Laci.
Like, your wife is missing.
No questions. So after this, they're at this detective debriefing. Everyone's upstairs. They were discussing something very specific. Like, they all were getting together just one thing. And that was this is at the time a phone call comes in on the tip line. They have a tip line set up. This call is from Amber Fry.
Who's Amber Fry?
That is for part 2.
What the fuck?
That is the end of part 1. If you know this case, you know who Amber Fry is, and that's why it's important.
I don't, and now I want to look her up.
I bet if you think about it hard enough.
A girlfriend?
Does it sound familiar to you?
Amber Fry. No. Amber Fry. Amber Fry. Let me say it a couple more times. No.
Do you remember anything from the Chris Watts case? Do you remember what his girlfriend was Googling? She was Googling, did people hate Amber Fry?
Oh, so she's his girlfriend.
Stay tuned for part 2, and I'll tell you all about it.
So Chris Watts.
Isn't it? It's very weird. Well, Chris Watts is so Scott Peterson, because this is obviously first. So yeah, I'm not sure if part 2 is out for Patreons yet. I will let you know. If not, it will be shortly.
I would say if it's not now, it will be Friday.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And that's that. Sorry it was so long. Sorry if you don't like background information.
I do. I love it. I am
so
engrossed in this right now. And oh God, this is gonna kill me. I gotta find something else to watch tonight so that I don't.
This was the most boring episode that this will be. It gets fucking wild after this. I don't think this
was boring at all, so.
Good. Thank God.
That's how I felt about the yogurt shop murders.
Like, no, I love the yogurt shop murders. Mortos.
All right, we gotta go.
We gotta go. Once it starts happening, we gotta leave.
All right.
We will see you Friday if you're on the Patreon, and then the next...
We don't know.
The next couple weeks is gonna just be this, so
yep.
We'll see you for another one of these.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. As always, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at AlmostPod if you'd like to interact with us and talk about the cases. You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/almostpod. It's a monthly subscription where you get early access to 2-parters, shout-outs, bonus episodes. You can email us at almostpod@gmail.com. Questions, comments, concerns, corrections, compliments. Always compliments. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts,
please be sure to subscribe. That way every week when we drop a new episode, it will automatically download for you to listen to. You can also give us a 5-star rating and write us a review and let us know what you think.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.